Good to go? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Lassard.
Where's your hat?
I'm saving it for later. I'm just going to slowly build up to the hat. I'm just going to ask that everybody can make sure they have a clear line of sight, the camera is not in anyone's way, and make sure your cell phones are off. Toastmasters, where leaders are made. If you were to take a poll and ask people what they know about Toastmasters, they're most likely to say public speaking. Sure, we develop our communication and leadership skills by public speaking, but what we're really about is developing self-confidence. Closely related to the fear of speaking is shyness. Many of our members have joined because someone once told them that Toastmasters will help cure their shyness. Perhaps you're one of them. Our presenter joined Toastmasters some 24 years ago because he was terrified of speaking in public. He was also shy when it came to social networking, but chose not to do anything about it until recently. He researched the subject of shyness, wrote a book, delivered seminars, and became a self-proclaimed expert on overcoming shyness. Well, almost. Please welcome former Shy Guy, Rae Stonehouse, Distinguished Toastmaster, with Power Networking for Shy Toastmasters.
Thank you, Dennis, for that warm introduction. I couldn't have written it better myself. I can't wait to hear what I have to say. I like to start off my sessions by learning more about my audience. So this is the audience participation part. So who among us is actually an extrovert? If you just, extroverts, just all your extroverts, please stand up. Extroverts, please stand up. Okay, I want to put you to work. I'd like you just to follow through me and just give a great big wave and go, well, hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so we know where our extroverts are. Okay, I'm presuming that if, thank you, extroverts, that if you are the extroverts, that means everybody else is an introvert. Is that true? Okay, introverts, stand up. Okay, after me, I want you to jump up and down like you're on The Price is Right and go, whoop, 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 whoop. Well, introverts, you completely surprised me. You've completely wiped out the rest of my presentation. Because you know, introverts don't usually do that. Maybe Toastmasters introverts are a higher level of introvert than the average introvert. Because introverts usually don't want any attention to be drawn to them. The last thing they want is to have the spotlight on them. I guess that's where Toastmaster comes in.
But look how many of them stood up.
I'm amazed.
And then there was anonymity within their group.
I've got to rewrite the whole presentation. Let's take a look at the difference between introverts and extroverts. Can anybody provide me with a definition or a description of what the difference might be? Starting off with extroverts. How would you describe an extrovert?
Very reactive to anything around them.
Okay. That's one definition. Anybody else have anything to add? Barb?
Well, apparently extroverts get their energy being around people.
Exactly. Okay. And what about introverts? What's the difference?
And introverts get their energy from being by themselves and recharging.
Okay, and you gave the exact definition that I use when I do these presentations. Extroverts love situations like this. They love getting the hospitality suite last night where it's just jam-packed and you couldn't even talk. They love being out on the dance floor. They love being the center of attention. They get their energy. They're recharged from that. Now, extroverts, do you find that to be true?
Yeah.
Is that the way you are? Okay, introverts, the other side. Do you love getting out there and jumping up and down and the hustle and the bustle? No. Most of us, Vivian's, I'd say I was that way too, but I don't mind when the spotlight's on me, but I have to go out there. No, I don't like that. So, introverts versus extroverts. Part of the challenge is that when it comes to networking, the so-called extroverts of the world would have us believe that the best way to be is to be an extrovert and to be like them. So that's all you have to do. The world would be a better place if everybody was an extrovert. According to many, and I might be generalizing, to many extroverts. Well, that's not going to happen. So what do you think is better? Being an introvert or being an extrovert?
Depends on who you ask.
Both.
Both. You can be both.
Yeah.
Context-based.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in some things I'm very extroverted, but
Okay.
put me in a room of people who I don't know and I'm just as likely to go hide off in the corner.
Okay, that actually comes up in one of the future slides when we talk about that. It's not better. Neither is better. There are definitely extroverts in the world that have done very well for themselves. They're very outspoken. Our CNL award winner last evening, obviously, I would say an extrovert. He likes to talk. He's done well for himself based on that. The other side of it, of course, there are introverts that you can't go with the stereotypical idea that many people have that introverts, oh no, they're bookworms. To name one, Bill Gates, introvert, extrovert.
Introvert.
Seems to have done pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
You think so? When it comes to getting out, he pays people for that. So he's been able to work it, so there's not a problem for him. So, our introverts, we already decided who our introverts were. It's a little challenging at this point. We're going to add something a little bit extra. Shyness. Is it safe to say that all extroverts are not shy?
No. When it comes to networking, that's when I suddenly become an introvert.
Okay, so it's a myth that all extroverts are outgoing and they're not shy. So is it true that all introverts are shy? Is that true either? No, it's not, but the majority, statistically, of all introverts are shy. When I check out the book later, but when I researched writing my book on networking, I found out that some 55% of North Americans consider themselves to be shy. So it's not all that unusual. It's almost becoming the norm. And it wasn't part of the presentation, but I was talking to Raymond about at breakfast time, the reason that the incidence of shyness is increasing, one reason, anybody got a cell phone? Drive by a bus stop. Nobody's making eye contact with each other. Everybody's on their iPhone. Another one, the bank tellers. We get the ATMs now. We don't have to go into the bank. We don't have to get in line and talk to people. We don't have to go to the teller and talk to people. Another reason is the breakdown of the so-called traditional family values. Back in the so-called olden days, anybody remember Leave It to Beaver? June Cleaver, she'd be there with her pearls on. Husband Ward would come on with his suit. They sit down for the Sunday dinner. That all went out when TV dinners came. People started watching television. They're having dinners at different times. Single parent families. The breakdown of the family. That's all leading to shyness because we're losing out on those traditional ways to speak. Now, one of the things I found in research is that there are a lot of shy people out there. And quite often they don't do anything about it. And they ask, is Toastmasters a good way to overcome shyness? The answer, of course, is yes. But there's a however that goes with it. It's not going to come by, I say you don't learn public speaking by osmosis. You have to get up and do it. Toastmasters, while it provides excellent opportunities for networking, have you ever done the networking manual?
The what?
The networking manual. No, there isn't one. No, there isn't one, and I don't think it's included in Pathways. I haven't gone through it, so I don't know if it's included. But networking for social purposes or business purposes is an essential skill that you have to have. We have perfect opportunities for it, but there's not so much a program. So I remember one member came out to our club, and a year after the fact, he told me that when he came into the meeting, if we had have asked him to stand up and introduce himself, he would have walked right out of that meeting, right at that spot, because he was so shy. Because what often goes with shyness is anxiety and fear. And you know, when it comes to public speaking, we hear the old acronym FEAR, false.
Evidence appearing real.
Appearing real. The same thing applies for networking. We go in with our mind that something's going to happen, so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think we're going to be anxious. We go out there, what happens? We're anxious because we thought we were going to become anxious instead of having a plan and preventing it. So he came to learn how to public speak and to get past his anxiety. But it was about 1.5 years, 2 years later that he told me, anyways, what his real purpose for coming to Toastmasters. He wanted to get the courage to speak to his wife, to tell her that he was leaving her. And that's what he did. That was his purpose for coming to Toastmasters.
Oh my God.
And the last thing I heard, I don't know what, his ex-wife doesn't like Toastmasters. Yes, she's not a fan of Toastmasters. But he...
And there's his picture.
No, that's very much what it was. He was extremely anxious. So we do get members that come out to our meetings that are shy. Now, I'm stereotyping here, generalizing. Most of us, not so much on the shy, because I've seen faces around for a while, so I know you've been coming to meetings. So this presentation here, it's going to serve two purposes. If there's anybody in the room that's new and shy, this will give you some guidelines. But I'm hoping that if you're an extrovert, or if you're doing training sessions on your own, is you can take the content back and perhaps help a shy member of your club. Because I remember when I first came out, I didn't know anybody. They'd take you around and introduce people, but I couldn't remember 60 names at a large club I went to. I couldn't remember 50 names. And I found it very intimidating my first few meetings. Now, a comment back there about being shy in some situations, some being shy in other situations. What I've done is I've placed on a continuum, I call it the shyness continuum. I don't know if anybody famous ever made it, but on one end of it, you've got the extremely shy people. They can't stand up, they can't introduce themselves. They might be 5 minutes to get their name out, perhaps just drop because of nerves and anxiety. A social situation, you'll see them, you can tell pretty well who the extremely ones are, like in a large room. They're going to be the people that are checking their phones, or everybody's checking their phones nowadays, but against the wall. They're not going to be engaging with people. But the other end of the spectrum, you have people that have got a little more comfortable. They're perhaps not super outgoing. They may not be an extrovert in social situations, but as Robert, isn't it?
Yep.
But as Robert said, not so shy in a certain situation. So you may be very comfortable going out to your Toastmaster meeting where everybody knows you. But if you were to go to maybe a meeting in your community where you didn't know anybody, perhaps you wouldn't be so as brave. So that's why I put it on a continuum. So what we would like to do in Toastmasters is we don't want to recreate or procreate extroverts. We just want to get people comfortable. We're teaching them how to public speak. We're teaching them leadership. We're also teaching them vicariously how to be a better networker. So we want to move them from the extremely shy so that they don't pass out in a community, shaking hands, to get them to the point where they're a little more comfortable. So why I get involved with this, as I said in my introduction there, that, okay, I've been all the different positions. About 10 years ago, I took on the role of district governor. And at the time, you can see right here now that there's a trio. Right now is Joe, Sean, and Carol. They're the trio. So when I was the district governor, I had 2 people that I oversaw, so my team. I also had a past district governor and a regional director who were my mentors. They were my support team. Now, 4 of them were, and you know all the characters there, 4 of them were all extroverts. And I was the introvert. So their idea, what they wanted me to do, was when I was on the stage, they wanted me, every time that I was addressing the group, they wanted me to be a cheerleader. Sis boom ba, rah, 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 get the troops all riled up, get everybody excited. Well, that wasn't going to happen, because that's not my base personality. I think I went through the whole year before, I think it was the last time where we were in public, and I think I was able to get a couple, whoop, whoop. I think I went for 3, then that was probably the only time in my life because that's not my personality. So Susie Proctor, who was the regional director at the time, she comes up with this plan. What she wants me to do is to walk out into the common area in the networking sessions, carrying a little billboard saying, "Hi, I'm Ray. I'm shy. Please talk to me." Well, that never happened. And that's not me. That's not an alien there. That's not me. So that never happened. But it reinforced the fact that, okay, I'm developing my communication skills. I'm getting fairly comfortable speaking towards groups. I've certainly engaged the leadership component as much as anybody else in our organization. But the networking, no, wasn't ready for that. It was probably a good 5 years later before I got into it. I started researching it, and what I found was that I read a lot of articles on networking. And they all seem to be written, well, from a business perspective, they all seem to be written from an extrovert's perspective. Can you imagine what they had to say? What the best way to become a networker was? Emulate them. Act as if you were an extrovert. And I don't know if you've heard it, but from the field of stand-up comedy, there's a saying that there are only 7 jokes in the world. Anybody ever heard that? There's only 7 jokes in the world, and all the jokes that you hear come from those original 7. Arguably, knock-knock jokes aren't jokes, so that's not even in there. But what I found was I was researching the articles, everybody was repeating the same information. There wasn't any new information. So I took a look at that and I thought, well, this isn't right. I went into books, I went into articles online, library, and I wasn't finding anything new. So I started picking apart the different elements that you needed to be able to perform to become a better networker, business and social. And I started writing articles on them. I wrote about a dozen articles or so. And then I realized, okay, I think there's enough material for a book. So I wrote a book on the subject with the title of Power Networking for Shy People, Tips and Techniques for Moving from Shy to Sly. And it was written from the perspective of a shy introvert. How do we equalize the playing field so we can be out there just as powerful as a networker as the extroverts? That was the premise of it. So I've adapted some of that stuff. That's a long book and it's certainly a longer workshop. So what I've done is I've drilled it down a little bit to provide some techniques that we can use within our Toastmasters clubs. And as I said, if you're used to doing it, this won't be new to you, but maybe take it from a different perspective and help somebody else that does have some challenges with it. I didn't create the term power networking. I found it out there. I stole it. I've made it my own. I'm hoping to turn it into a brand somewhat if I have some spare time not taking on Toastmaster projects. So, first off, it's going to be starting off with with tactics that you can do at your club meeting. And remember, this is written from the perspective that you're a brand new Toastmaster. So the first one seems pretty easy. Introduce yourself to another member or a guest. Does anybody find that challenging, or is that easy?
I actually did that this morning at the breakfast table, or last night at dinner.
You said what?
I went around and introduced myself to 2 people at our table.
Because you're comfortable doing that. When I first joined, I was...
used to be.
Okay, well there you go. That's my poster girl here, Audrey. When I first started, I was not comfortable with it. No, definitely not. Walking up to a group of strangers, I was okay doing one-to-one. I'm a registered nurse. I work in mental health, so I do counseling, so I'm used to one-to-ones. But that walking up to a group of people, hi, I'm Ray. How do you like me so far? Once the hand was out, I didn't have the social skills to go after that. So that's what really shyness is all about, is a deficit of social skills. I never said that there. But that's what shyness is. It's neither good or bad. The shyness, if anything, it limits you from opportunity. Opportunity comes and you say, no, I'm too shy. You've lost a possible opportunity. So what I find was easy for me was, okay, you're sitting down, you've got a person to this side, you've got a person to this side. You've got 2 different people that you can talk to. But I find quite often in meetings, Toastmaster meetings or other meetings organizations, they tend to be the people that know each other, talk to each other, instead of engaging the guests. And I think we can't just put it down to the VP of membership to be the welcome wagon for our clubs. We ourselves have to do this. So as a new member, I would suggest the method that worked for me was talking to the person beside me. Okay, why are you at Toastmasters? How long have you been a member? What, that long? Why are you still here? You must be a good public speaker by now. Just have some conversation and being prepared in advance for some questions. I know some networkers that have the idea that power networking is getting out and meeting as many people and talking to as many people as possible. Maybe that works for some people. I'm not of that. I'm more into the quality over quantity. I'd rather meet one or two people at a meeting and get to know them better so that when I meet them the next time I can continue on the conversation. I have a better idea about that person. Because when you go home with a stack of business cards from a business meeting and you think, okay, I think I talked to that guy. You know, who is he? I can't remember. Is he the guy with the bad hair? Oh no, that was me. So I go quality over quantity, and you know, if you're with a guest, if you get a new member, you know, make them comfortable. Because while you're making them comfortable, you're still developing your networking skills. Social networking is social. That means it's among people. You have to talk to each other. I wanted to make this interactive too. I didn't want to do all the talking. There is room at the end for question and answer, but if there's any questions that pop up or comments, you know, just fit them in so we can. Anybody on LinkedIn? Show hands. Okay. Do you use it?
No, not really.
More of a lurker.
How come? If you're in business or if you're professional, LinkedIn is probably the most efficient and inexpensive tool that you can use for professional networking. When I wrote the book on the power networking techniques, I fit it in there because LinkedIn is a great equalizer if you're a shy introvert, because you've got access to everything that everybody has written about themselves. Sure, as you know, Audrey and I were talking, it can be self-promotional, but I think that's a good idea. So one of the challenges people have when you're meeting somebody and you're talking to them, you don't know what to say. But if you meet somebody at a club meeting, go back, check them out on LinkedIn. Nowadays, I don't think they'll even know that you're following them. You're not going to be considered a stalker or anything like that. You used to, but now they want you to pay for that privilege to find out who's stalking you. But check them out. Find out what their interests are. What do they do for a living? When I get inquiries, I'm the contact person for my Toastmaster club. When people contact me, first thing I do is check them out. I want to know if they're local. I want to know where they work. I want to know what they do for a living. I want to know anything that I can use as a leverage point to be able to communicate with them, and in that case, to get them to join Toastmasters. But when you're expanding your network, knowledge is power in this case. Audrey.
This is a number of years ago, and I didn't realize you could check out people. I had gotten into a very interesting discussion, I don't even remember now what it was about, with some other people in LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden, somebody joined, it was a man, belligerent, aggressive, nasty, foul-mouthed, and he was terrible. And I thought, what is this? So I made some comment back, polite, but, you know, firmly saying I don't go along with this. And boy, then did he attack me.
You got yourself into a...
And then somebody else came on to defend me. So then he attacked her again. And I thought, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah,
this is not what I need in my life.
I wouldn't say let one example of bad behavior. You get into a troll war. One of the articles I wrote was about cyberbullying. I had a stalker that did the exact same thing. I banned her from Facebook, and she made a smear campaign. She's a local author. She has pictures of her around town, nude, with a sword in her hand, saying, I'm gonna get that Rae Stonehouse. No, she hasn't gotten it anyways. But the idea, you are going,
You
doesn't
didn't
matter.
ask whether it was a sword or the bot.
No, it was a sword. It doesn't really matter what social media presence you're on. It gives you an idea. So the idea is use it as a tool. And what you want to put in yourself, depends what you're doing. If you're looking for work, if you're in business, there's different reasons. If you're retired and you're not so much, it's still good for research. One of the things that we do in Toastmasters tends to be in smaller clubs. When you have to fill your program, you have the advantage of the extra time, get your members to stand up and introduce themselves. When I first joined, I had real challenges to do that because I'd never done that before. I never had opportunity to stand up at work or anywhere else to introduce myself. So what I encourage people to do is really practice your introduction. And one of the workshops I do for business people, I taken to the next level and getting people to stand up. You'd be amazed how many people are even nervous about saying their name in public. They stumble, they don't know what to say. We see it somewhat when people join, they don't know, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. Chair, they have they fumble around on the salutation, but then when they get to themselves, they kind of peter off. One of the ways that I've learned to use it that draws attention to yourself, good afternoon everyone, I'm Rae Stonehouse. So what it does, it gives the person a second time to reinforce that name in their memory. Because people don't remember things, they remember certain things. So practice your self-introduction at your club.
So
Wendy.
what do you think your 3 key points should be about your self-introduction?
1, your name.
Yes.
2, what you do that's different in context of the place of where you are. It comes up in a future slide in here.
Oh,
So maybe
okay.
I can refer that one there.
Okay.
That comes up in a slide here. It's in the second section. So practice your self-introduction. Practice at home. Get used to saying, hello everyone, I'm Rae. Don't use my name unless you don't want to get yourself in trouble. But the secret is find out in advance, what are the rules? If you go to a business networking breakfast, we have a dozen of them in Kelowna, the expectation is you have 60 seconds. So you're going to be doing an elevator pitch in there. We don't have time to do that in a Toastmaster meeting, but the chairperson may say, okay, introduce yourself, how long have you been in Toastmasters? So, okay, you say it from there. What's the best thing you've got out of Toastmasters? If you had to convince somebody to join Toastmasters. So know the rules in your self-introduction. If you're going against the grain, you're going to stand and get attention. Might not be the attention that you want. So at a meeting, say this is a meeting we have here, this is still what you can practice at your club meeting, is approach someone that you don't know and strike up a conversation. Does anybody have challenges with this? I do.
Yeah.
I've worked at it. I've purposely put myself out and challenged myself to meet new people. They're strangers, they might bite you. Who knows what's going to happen to you? You've got to be careful of strangers. But odds are, they may even be more shyer, if that's a word. Shyer, where's the grammarian? More shyer. Shy, shyer, shy. More shy, there it is. They may be more shy than you are. They're just waiting for somebody. So you can strike up a conversation with somebody that maybe they're just sitting at the, I don't know about this group, they seem kind of stiff. I think I'm going to leave. Maybe they would make the difference right there. Every time you do that, it becomes a little more easy. So when you get to the next conversation, hi, I'm Rae, well, I'm going to have something to say. Didn't I see you here before? What brings you up to Toastmasters? It gets you out of your comfort zone and it helps develop your skills. This one, I'm a firm believer. Any club officers in the room? Anybody done it multiple times in the past? Anybody done it for life? What I'm suggesting here is, if you want to increase your shyness, what you want to do is raise your profile within your club. If you take on a club officer role, all of a sudden the attention is on you. Many clubs have business meetings, and you have an opportunity to provide a report. Depending on what role you've taken on, there's duties that go with that. You're going to be interacting with your members. So if you're shy, and one of the challenges you have is people coming to you, is you going to people, by positioning yourself and raising your profile, people are going to want to come to you. And I know that to be true. I've done that in different organizations. So I may be out there and I'm a bit shy and quiet, and people are coming to me, oh, I know your name, I see you everywhere, because that's the profile. That's not that I'm everywhere, but people have known my names because my profile, because of the roles I've taken on, and I self-promote a bit, people know that, so that my profile is working. And I think that's a good way to help get you out of your shyness. So instead of having to go out, have them come to you. So increase your value within the club. It's a little bit different than your profile. Increasing your value is, as an example, you can do the same thing in your job, is to start to know more about the organization that you're in than other people do. So if you're taking on club officer roles, you're getting to know different aspects of Toastmasters. If you're attending area, division, and district activities, you're learning more. You're learning about the bigger picture of Toastmasters. All that knowledgeable is valuable when you're helping mentor a newer member. So when you're increasing your value within the club, become the go-to person. Oh, go to Joe. He's the guy that knows all about the off-counter role. He used to have so many of them. Now he's worked on If you want help, he's the one to go to. Or if you're doing a speech evaluation contest, this person over here, they've competed 3 or 4 times and they've won most of those times. This is the person that you need to talk to. So that creates your value. So instead of having to go out there and promote yourself and meet people, they're going to come to you. I think it's a great way to reduce your shyness. Getting out of your club, there's attending club, well, there's clubs, of course. Getting out of your club, there's area, and there's division. I've been Toastmaster for 24 years. I've been going to conferences for a long time, I guess you'd say. And serving on the district team. And what I find is that many Toastmasters know their club. They think that the Toastmaster meeting they attend is the way that all Toastmaster meetings are run around the world. And that's simply not true. So by getting out and visiting other areas and clubs, you're getting way out of your comfort zone. You're meeting people you don't see too often. You're meeting people. How often do I see you?
Twice a year?
Yeah, these things, and you catch up quickly. You catch up quickly. Then there's volunteering to work on special projects. In the Competent Leader Manual, there are projects that allow you to take on, like running a contest or running a special event, an open house. By taking these projects on, they are leadership positions, but it also gets some attention for you, and it gets you out networking people. It puts you into a position to have to socialize and to intercommunicate with people. This is a great way, because the more confident you are, this funny thing happens, confidence goes up, shyness goes down. Special projects. I've certainly been involved with a few of those. Any other tactics you can think of within the club that you can do? So for our shy people, what have you done? Anything in the club that you would suggest?
Table topic.
Welcome
Table topics,
everybody.
that's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
Welcome everybody.
What's that?
Welcome people.
Welcome people. You mean be like the greeter?
Yes.
Yeah. I think if you were very shy, that might put you over the edge in the beginning. But definitely, it puts you in, like how safer could it be? You walk up the door, ooh, welcome to Toastmasters, come on over and meet, Joe here, he's been a member for a while. He'll show you what's around. You get comfortable doing that, and in no time, you're looking for a career change. Walmart's always looking for greeters. It may just open up a career opportunity for you. We don't all live in a Toastmasters Club. There is a real world outside, so I've heard. Other opportunities to expand your social repertoire of skills to become less shy. Family get-togethers. Good or bad, some families are pretty nasty, pretty dysfunctional, but in many cases, what happens, you get together for family get-together, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh, you remember the time that Uncle Charlie went and put the fish in? All these family stories. Well, those are all good stories that you can bring to Toastmasters as a speech. You can also fit them into a table topics. You can also take those stories, bring them to work. Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened to my family on the weekend. These are opportunities for you to stretch your comfort zone. Taking on different situations. Oh, I lost my phone ring there. Taking on different opportunities, sharing the stories, getting out of your comfort zone. Perhaps you're the shy person in the family. Maybe it's changing things a little bit. My sister got married. I was a Toastmaster at the time. Still didn't have the nerve to do the toast at her wedding though. I missed a good opportunity. I should have stepped out of my comfort zone. And did it. Family get-togethers are a great way for expanding your experience. Stories, I mentioned stories. Anybody a fan of late night talk shows, Stephen Colbert? You see the guests that come on. Not too often do you see a guest that's stumped. They're promoting something, they have a book, they have a play that they're in, a new movie, and they always have a story. And sometimes the host doesn't even get a chance to talk about what they want because the guest has their story. The world goes round based on stories. We're at work. What would you do on the weekend? Oh, you wouldn't believe what I did on the weekend. Then you have a long story, but it's a great opportunity to practice your public speaking skills, but it's also a way to increase your social skills because you've got to draw other people into your conversation if they're there. Sometimes you have to interact with them, but it's an excellent technique of increasing your self-confidence and lowering your shyness. I often hear somebody, so what's new? So what's new is an opening line for, well, I got a story for you. You wouldn't believe what happened. I caught a fish the other day. It was this long. It's a great setup. And yet, the reason that line stands out to me, because I was at a networking session. A woman came up to me and said, so what's new? Oh, nothing, same old, fast lane, you know what it's like. I missed the opportunity to promote a book that I had just published. I missed the opportunity to promote Toastmasters, the presentation that I was doing there. I missed the opportunity. I missed out. So what's new, now it's like an alarm that goes off. It's like that bell at the end when you speak too long. It goes, oh, there's a opportunity for me to share a story. We talked about it a little earlier, elevator pitch. It's the next level up from your introduction that you do at Toastmasters. Anybody familiar with elevator pitch? Anybody got a quick definition?
You introduce yourself within 30 seconds.
Well, essentially the premise of pitch an idea on the time it takes to go up an elevator.
Okay, that's the idea. Okay, how high does your elevator go though?
Ours is 4 floors.
Okay, this is a presentation that I did. I took this topic. Okay, different buildings some have an elevator that only goes 4 stories. Others have an elevator that goes right to the penthouse. Some buildings have 4 or 5 different elevators.
And then
So-
there's Lumbee.
They don't even know how to spell elevator. Okay, so does one elevator pitch serve all purposes? And this was your question here, Wendy. This is what I'm referring to. Does one elevator pitch serve all?
No.
No. One of the presentations that I was doing when I was doing power networking for job searchers is that you need to have a 30-second elevator in introduction. You need to have a 60-second, you need to have a 2-minute one, and you need to have a 10-minute one. These are for business people. Now, hopefully you're not going to get stuck in the elevator for 10 minutes. And you're doing the only talking. I don't think you're going to be very popular. But think about it. You go to a business meeting, and the rules are you get 60 seconds to introduce yourself. Fine, you do it. I did speed networking sessions. And I gave them 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I had Toastmasters timing lights. People couldn't get past the 1-minute point because they had been trained on the rules of being a 60-second introducer. If you can't talk about yourself for 2.5 minutes. Now, when I said 10 minutes, 10 minutes isn't so much an elevator pitch. But what if you're in business and you're professional and you want to become well known for a particular topic? Somebody comes up to you and says, we've got our speaker canceled tomorrow morning. Can you come to us and give a 10-minute talk on your specialty? That's why I say the next step of development is having that you can pull that out of your hat and at very short notice give a 10-minute introduction. That's why I say how high does your elevator go? So you're prepared for those. This is it's very much a review. The stuff or the tactics I talked about within your club, you can do the exact same thing when you're in a community organization where you don't know anybody. You may be the only person there. And some people don't like going to networking sessions. They prefer to have like a root canal than before going to a networking session. I think I'd go to the networking session. I've had root canals. Introduce yourself to a guest. It's a great way. A great way to talk to, find out, maybe they're a regular. You don't know until you start talking to them. Maybe they can be the way to take you around and introduce you to other people. You never know. So there's value to that. Once again, when you get back after your networking session, research them on LinkedIn. If it's somebody that you feel that because a Toastmaster meeting is seen week after week, but in a business networking session, you may not see them again. Research them on LinkedIn. Ask them to reach an invite to join your professional and business networking session. And if you think there's value, invite them up for coffee. Coffee chat. If you go to any of our coffee shops here in Kelowna, coffee chat is the way business is run in the Okanagan. Face to face and belly to belly. LinkedIn can open up that way of introducing yourself, especially if you're shy. Gets you out there. You see if you get something in common with them. Deliver your self-introduction with confidence. You've practiced it at your Toastmaster meeting. The time comes. Just think about it as a spotlight that it's on you. Hello everyone, I'm Rae Stonehouse and I'm certainly glad to be here this morning. Take advantage of that situation. What's the worst that could happen? People are going to remember you. Might as well have them remember you for something positive. For somebody that you don't know at all. So this is a little bit different than introducing yourself to another guest. Maybe there's somebody that you don't know, that perhaps they're on an executive, you haven't met them before, maybe they're in an influential position, they can make a difference. Just step out of your comfort zone. You do it over and over again, it's not going to be so challenging that, you know, the first time you did it, your nerves, your pulse was racing, you were shaking, hand was shaking, it was very, very wet and slippery. After a while doing it, you become very comfortable doing it. Raise your profile. This is one of the things I've done in different organizations. I was a member of an entrepreneur association. I went to a meeting. I didn't like the way they run it. I offered to run it better. Hey, I was a Toastmaster. I had the experience. I took over their education and training program. I put together some 30 different town hall meetings where I arranged, I was the moderator, so I was the MC. I brought guests in, I interviewed them, I did the marketing, I did the whole kit and caboodle, as I say. Raised my profile within that organization. So eventually I became the chairman of the society. So they worked there. Same thing, volunteer to work on special projects. Any organization has projects over and above what their mandate is. We talked about them in Toastmasters. The community projects. Maybe it's building or working on a community watch program in your neighborhood. Could be, there's so many programs out there that can help you in getting involved with volunteers. You get to come in contact with different people. That's a great way to increase your self-confidence. So basically what we talked about, I talked about in your club. We talked about the same idea of business social. The top of the level for you extroverts and the extroverts that think they're good networkers, or people that are still introverts, but you're going to be introvert for life, but not so shy. The sort of the top level, the self-actualization side of it, is become a connector. Not just a matter of connecting with people. It's not a matter of how many people you're connected to. It's who you can connect. So you're at a meeting session, somebody's introducing yourself. Oh, you're in this business. Do you know Charlie over here? Come on over, let me introduce you to Charlie. Set those two up. Whatever happens after that, you don't know him. But from then, you know, connecting people. That's what I would like to see within Toastmasters. You know, many of us in this room, we're comfortable with it. Think about the new Toastmaster who's shy, who's fearful. Connect them with people. Any last questions here before we say bye-bye, Ray?
So when you, what would you recommend how you introduce? What were the key things that you would say about
Introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Context is everything. One of the things I recommend in your elevator pitch is to come up with, it's called your USP, your Universal Sales Proposition, Universal Sales Pitch. What makes you different than anybody else?
Right.
Okay?
So what
So,
are the components?
as an example, when I was introducing, I had a business called Mr. MC, so I was Master of Ceremonies. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rae Stonehouse, and I'm a professional cat juggler. Of course, metaphorically speaking, of course, what I do is I organize events so that all those events run in order. So that's Rae Stonehouse, Mr. MC, your event organizer of choice. I don't have that business now. I do if I don't have any customers. But your introduction should be, I'm Rae Stonehouse. I'm a union representative for BC Nurses Union. If you have a problem, you have a contract problem, your manager bugging you, come and see me. Now, I wouldn't do that in an interior health who I work for of managers.
Right.
I'm going to have fruit thrown at me. So your introduction has to go with the appropriate context. You should craft each one. It doesn't have to be long, unless the expectation is so short and sweet and to the point. Leave them some. You want to leave them enough that they ask you questions after that. Any last questions? Should we sign off here? Time's up. Well, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much, Ray.